5 months after hostilities had begun in World War I, lulls occurred in the fighting as armies ran out of men and munitions, and commanders reconsidered their strategies following various stalemates and indecisive battles. Christmas approached, but few soldiers in the trenches expected much in the way of celebration. In a letter to his wife, Captain John Arms recounted the most extraordinary scenes that occurred on the eve of December 25th, 1914. As men from both sides of the battlefield experienced what can only be described as a Christmas miracle. Our final declaimer in this oration category is junior Jaylee Tovias.
December 24th, 1914. I've just been through one of the most extraordinary scenes imaginable. Tonight is Christmas Eve, and I came up into the trenches this evening for my tour of duty in them. Firing was going on all the time, and the enemy's machine guns were at it hard, firing at us. Then, about 7, the firing stopped. I was in my dugout reading a paper, and the mail was being dished out. It was reported that the Germans had lighted up their trenches all along our front. We had been calling to one another for some time, Christmas wishes and other things. I went out, and they shouted, "No shooting!" And somehow, the scene became a peaceful one. All our men got out of the trenches and sat on the parapet. The Germans did the same, and they talked to one another in English and in broken English. I got on top of the trench and talked German and asked them to sing a German Volkslied, which they did, and then our men sang quite well, and each side clapped and cheered the other. I asked a German who had sang a solo to sing one of Schumann's songs, so he sang the Two Grenadiers splendidly. Our men, they were a good audience, and they really enjoyed his singing. Then Pope and I walked across and held a conversation with the German officer in command. One of his men introduced us properly. He asked my name and then presented me to his officer. I gave the latter permission to bury some German dead who are lying in between us, and we agreed to have no shooting until 12 midnight. Tomorrow. We talked together. 10 or more Germans gathered round. I was almost in their lines within a yard or so. We saluted one another. He thanked me for permission to bury his dead, and we fixed up how many men were to do it, and that otherwise both sides must remain in the trenches. We wished one another a good night and a good night's rest and a happy Christmas, and parted with a salute. I got back to the trench. The Germans sang "Die Weit im Rhein." It sounded well, and then our men sang quite well, "Christians awake." It sounded so well. And with a good night, we all got back into our trenches. What a curious scene. A lovely moonlit night, the German trenches with small lights on them, and the men gathered in groups on the parapet. At times, we heard the guns in the distance and the occasional rifle shot. I can hear them now, but about us is absolute quiet. I allowed 1 or 2 men to go out and meet a German or 2 halfway. They exchanged cigars, a smoke, and talked. The officer I spoke to hopes we shall do the same on New Year's Day. I said, yes, if I am here. I felt I must sit down and write the story of this Christmas Eve before I went to lie down. Of course, no precautions have been relaxed, but I think they mean to play the game. All the same, I think I shall be awake all night so as to be on the safe side. it's weird to think that tomorrow night we shall be at it hard again. If one gets through this show, it will be a Christmas time to live in one's memory. The German who sang had a really fine voice. I'm just off for a walk around the trenches to see all is well. Good night.